All right. Good evening. Happy World Renowned Wednesday. It is that time for us to rock and roll, for us to take our businesses to the next level. Now, you all can see I have a different background. I'm in a different environment, a different setting. And that's because wife and I, we are here in Nashville, Tennessee for a real estate convention. And so a lot of us being here comes as a result of the things that we're going to talk about tonight and that we have been talking about and working through with these World Renowned Wednesdays. So first, so tonight we'll probably hit 35, 40 minutes, but it's going to be applicable items for us to implement. But the very first thing I must do is that we must go back and look at where we started, right? Because I want us to remember those things and then start implementing them. So we started out what our goal was. Our goal was to be the best at this thing so that others would look for us to be world renowned. We have to still answer the question, who are you? Right? Do you know what the answer to that question is? Have you figured that out over the past 6 weeks? Well, this being week number 6. Do you know who you are? And here's the answer to that, or here's part of the answer. You are who your clients, customers, prospects say you are. You are who Google says you are. So we want to do that hard, scary, nasty work of asking people, when you think of me, what word comes to your mind? So we want to make sure that we're asking who they are, and then we want to, or who we are in their minds, and then we want to choose our one word. What one word comes to others' minds when they think of us? And are we okay with that word or not? Then we move on to the whole idea of building your personal brand. I know that all of us are service based entrepreneurs, business owners. What is your personal brand? It has to be bigger than the service that you provide. And oftentimes that can be boiled down to a phrase, a word, a feeling that others emote when they think of you. Um, Also, having to do the work. We're going to talk about this part tonight about actually doing the work to get the results, the thoughts to action piece. Because if we only have fantastic thoughts, if we are brilliant, but we don't execute, we know that's not going to yield anything for us. Then in week number, I believe 4, it was, we talked about knowing your numbers. Do you know what your numbers are? And we went through the entire conversion ratios, number of leads, appointments, conversations, agreements that need to be signed. And this is where I want to pause and just remind us about August 17th coming up. Those of us who are in real estate, August 17th is an important day. For some of our associations across the country, August 1st is the implementation date for the settlement changes for different associations. So it's your responsibility to speak to your MLS, your association, if you're in real estate, to know when those changes are going to take effect. And the biggest change being that compensation is not going to be offered in the MLS. What does that mean for us who are in real estate? That means that we have to be practicing, that we must rehearse, script, role play those conversations and dialogues, not between buyer and buyer agent or buyer broker, but now we might have to work on our conversation broker to broker, agent to agent. Is compensation going to be offered? Or do you have, or does your association or your brokerage have those compensation agreement forms in place? How skilled are you with the buyer brokerage agreement conversation, right? These are the things that are going to be required. And we're even going to talk about that principle and saying no for those that aren't going to be the right fit for you. And then last week, we talked about that Pareto principle where there's 80-20, 90-10, 60-20, but all things, all people are not created equal. And here's my ask of you this evening. Have you found your 20%? Have you found those things that move the needle the most in your business? If not, you're going to get stressed out. You're going to get burned out, especially over the rest of this year. And here's why I say that. Because if we are not careful, We're going to hear, see, and just be told all types of things. Well, if you want to survive 2024, you have to do this. Oh, and you have to do this. And don't forget about adding that. And then all of a sudden, what's going to happen? We will have lost our way because we didn't focus on that Pareto principle. We didn't hone in on our dollar producing activities or income producing activities, which are going to yield the greatest results. So if nothing else, I'm going to encourage you to find out who you are, to know who you are, to make sure that you're building your personal brand, and then really dial in on knowing your numbers. This is where we also talked about that performance-based self-esteem, that the better we do, the better you feel about yourself. The better you feel about yourself, the better you perform. The better you perform, the better you feel about yourself. Can I stop right there, or do I need to keep going? I can stop. I'm going to stop, right? And so my hope, my prayer is that over the past week, you all have performed at a way that increased your self-esteem, that increased your performance. Just personally, I will tell you all that this has been an amazing week for me, where it seems as if I could do no wrong. And here's why I know that happened. It's because I had one small victory that turned into a bigger victory. Then I started feeling better. I started viewing myself in a higher position or perspective. And then as a result of my increased self-esteem, I put forth more effort. So whether it was putting a property on the market, getting it under contract, getting in 2 or 3 properties under contract in a week, and then getting leads coming in, this is where we're always thinking about that performance-based self-esteem and the impact that it can have on us. So and then finally, as a reminder, that important part was that sales process, where we want to spend 40% of our sales activity building trust. 30% of our sales activity, we're going to invest in identifying the needs of our customer or client accurately. 20% is going to be doing a presentation or a consultation, and then only 10% we're going to be asking the customer or the client to buy. And so tonight, we are going to go into this whole idea about being oversubscribed, right? And so here's where I have, so my book, oh, you guys can't see it if it gets over there. So I did bring my book on the trip with me, lots of notes. Charles actually came over to the house yesterday, and he saw me as I'm working and preparing for tonight. So you all, I did not share with Charles what we're going to share today. He just saw me, he saw the behind the scenes work in process. But here's where we're going to talk about being oversubscribed. And this is where we talk partially about you building your brand. But here's what my coaches, mentors, the studies, and some research has proven, that successful businesses are businesses that are in demand. Okay, so success equals demand. Are you and your services or your products, are you in demand right now? So no demand equals no profit. And we know what no profit means. No profit means out of business, going out of business, sale, closing doors, all of that. So no profit no demand equals no profit. Little demand equals what? Little profit, right? And many of us, we might have found ourselves in that place where we're doing okay. We have people calling us like family and friends, but there's not enough demand for us to have an overflow, to live an abundant life, to have business where we can turn individuals away who aren't a match for us. So no demand, no profit. Little demand, little profit. Massive demand equals success. And you all know I like to spell success with dollar signs. So you're going to, the more in demand you are, the more successful as a business person you are going to be. So here's your job. Your job is to create demand, a need for your product or service. Us as service-based individuals here in real estate, entertainment, consulting services, coaching, whatever it might be, how can you create more demand? Well, here's the first thing that we must agree with, that our days of chasing clients are over, right? And that comes back to the mental side of this thing. You have to decide, I'm not going to be chasing people down. I'm not going to try to convince anyone to work with me. Here's what this also means, ladies and gentlemen. We do not argue when someone says, I don't want to work with you. Okay. We are not using hard sell tactics. Yeah, I'm going to go. I would use you. Thanks for the consultation. I'm going to use my cousin. Okay, right? We are not going to chase these people. We do not have to convince people to work with us, right? So we are going to present our case, but we do not have to persuade or convince someone. Why? Because there are already people who are lined up and waiting for what you have, right? I mentioned this very early on when we were talking about the personal brand. This is why it's so important for us to know who we are. Once we know who we are and we start putting that out to the marketplace, to our marketplace, then the people who are looking for us, they will find us. So I mentioned that we aren't going to try to convince anyone that they should work with us. We're not going to argue with them. We know that there are people who are lined up to work with us. The problem is that their line might be around the corner or it might be in a different city. And so your job is to find the people who are lined up to work with you. They probably are not going to be banging down your door right now. So, how do we find them? This goes back to how we make ourselves key people of influence. And here's why we're recapping this. I know that over the past 5 weeks, it's been a lot of information. So we're not going to do as much teaching today as we are going to be reminding, just keeping it refreshed. And the whole idea is because information and ideas, I give those away freely. I charge for the implementation, right? And so this is where you all have the ideas, but what's going to take you from being here to here is implementing this idea and becoming a key person of influence, someone who is world renowned, someone whose business is in demand, in massive demand, so that you can have massive profits and success. So here is an idea that I want you all to think as business owners, and it might be contradictory or contrary to everything that you've heard, especially in this marketplace, in real estate, in entertainment, or service companies, is that there's no scarcity for people who live and believe in abundance. Okay. So if you believe in abundance, if you think there's enough business for everyone, there's going to be enough business for everyone. If you think the other way, if you think vice versa, there's going to be no business. There's not going to be enough opportunities out there for you. So we have to do that dirty work of making sure that our mind frame is right so that everywhere we go, once we know our numbers, remember, we're not focused on that big number of leads. I'm going to ask you all this. Do you know what your number is, your daily number? Now, don't answer, but do you know what your daily number is? How many contacts do you have to have? Once again, my number is 6, and me hitting my 6 every day has yielded one hell of a week this week. Right now, the contacts I made this week weren't the 6, or the 6 contacts I made didn't yield the results that made this an amazing week. Those 6 contacts might have been scattered throughout the past week or months. So the deals that we did today or this week did not come as a result of today's activities, today's 6. And so this is where we want to get back to. Are you being abundantly minded and thinking and sharing in a way? Because here's what we want to know. Here's what I want you all to understand. The more you share, the more people should demand. Okay. If you are giving enough information, ideas, time, energy to people, people should demand more. They should. If you're giving something away and people don't want more of it, that either means you are giving to the wrong people, which is totally possible, or you're giving the wrong stuff. Does that make sense? Right? So I want you all to ask yourself, one, am I giving enough away? You have to start there. Information. In real estate, you all have to be giving away an abundance of information. Information is free. The implementation is what we charge for. So we're going to give information on the housing market, on what it looks like to get pre-approved, the whole home buying and home selling process. We're going to break that entire process down into a step-by-step piece. We're going to leverage Breakthrough Broker. We're going to also use the RPR, right? All of these, we're going to leverage this. We're going to just give away, give away, give away, walk people through what a home inspection looks like. Why do they need appraisals? Why do people get appraisals on cash properties, right? All of this. What's the title agent or attorney's role in the transaction? So we want to give away information. And then if people say, okay, cool, that means that we're either giving to the wrong people or we're giving the wrong stuff. The information right here will be right on. So then we would have to ask, are they asking us for more? Are they in, or am I in demand? When you give away, you should be in more demand by the people. So start asking yourself, am I in demand? If I am, give more. If I'm not, am I giving to the wrong people or am I sharing the wrong information? And so here's where we're going to start with that. You're going to start by sharing ideas that you believe in. In real estate, we are not going to start with interest rates, the home buyer process, even though I talked about that. We're not going to. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start with ideas that we believe in. I believe that all people should own their home. Like that's just a fundamental belief that I have. Right. And the reason we start with our beliefs and our ideas is because right off top, if someone does not agree with you, they promote themselves to non-customer, non-client. That means that we don't have to find out later on down the line that they are not the right match. So we start sharing the ideas that we believe in first and let those who are not our people go ahead and disqualify themselves. Those who do believe that, who do agree with the same things that we believe, they're going to say, well, let me see what she or he has to say. And that's where I'm going to encourage us to lead with your personal beliefs first. Now, this is where you, as a business owner, you have to make informed and intelligent decisions in which personal beliefs you're going to lead with. Over the past couple of weeks, there has been madness out here, right? From all type of political, societal issues. We are not going to touch those. My belief, I believe that everyone should own their home. I believe that everyone should have access to financing. I believe that the color of your skin or your religious background should not impact your ability to raise a family or to live a life in an environment that you so desire. So I lead with that, and then that's going to bring others in when they want to dive in and get a little bit more. So here's what you have to do. You want to make it so that we give ideas, but then we want them to hire us to get the job done, right? Because we can tell someone, you all can tell someone how to buy or sell a home, right? It's like we all know it. We know people who be like, I can do that. That's easy. I mean, I can find a contract. Information is free, it's cheap, it's easy, but the implementation, getting the part done is going to be the valuable piece. So we want to make sure that's where we highlight our value. So here's what we do. So we want to create our own market. And here's what it means when it talks about creating your own market. I do not want you focused on the entire marketplace. I mean, if you would look at the most successful individuals in sales or in business, especially entrepreneurs, they do not focus on the entire marketplace. They focus on their, it is called the, Mm, and it just evaded me. It is called the significant few. So there is a significant few or least viable amount, right? How many do you need? Like for me, I know that for my goals to be met, when I say my number is 6, I really only need 11 transactions to hit my goal. right? So if I have 11 transactions in a year, I'm going to hit my goal. So my least viable number is 11, right? So if my 6 contacts a day lead to my 11, then I win. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to not focus on the general marketplace, on the entire market, because that's going to lead to mediocrity. It's going to lead to burnout, and then it's going to lead to a race to the bottom. So I don't know what your makeup for your business is, but if you're in the general marketplace, if you are a commodity, we are always competing on price. And so we do not want to be competing on price. We don't want to be cutting our fees or our rates. What we want to do instead is we want to find that small number of people. And I will tell you, no matter where you are in business, there is a small number of people who believe in your value more than you do, right? So there's someone right now that thinks that you're a better business person than you do, right? And I know we think that we're pretty good. There's someone that when you tell them your price or your fees or your compensation, they're like, that's it? And you're like, man, I should have charged them more. Yes, you should have. Right. And so here's the idea. If no one complains about your price, what does that mean? That means your price is too low. If no one complains about your price, the sticker price on your service, your product, that means that your price is too low. If you throw something out there and someone says, okay, right? As a business person, you got to say, maybe I need to reevaluate. When was the last time someone said no to hiring you as a service provider because of your price? Now, there might be other reasons in there, but if price is not one of them, we want to just start with the idea that there are people out there who value your service, your expertise, your personality more than you do. You just have to find them. And the only way we can find them is by putting ourselves out there in a various methods. I've mentioned Canvas Rebel. My wife is being featured in Canvas Rebel again any day now. And she is a behind the scenes transaction coordinator that does not like the limelight, but this is going to be her second time published in like this year, right? And so this is where she's getting business because people are seeing her out there, and now they say, I like what you believe in. I agree with you. I have the same personality. I want to work with you. So I'm just going to encourage you all to find those people or make yourself findable by those people who value you more than you do. So here is something that I have here. Your job is to find people who can't live without you. There are customers and clients who cannot live without you. I use the example of my wife, right? I tell everyone, my wife is like, when I go, she going too, right? Wherever I go, she like, if that means that it's over, she was like, yep, Romeo Juliet special. Here we go. We gone. Right. So find those clients who cannot live without you. We talked about finding the problems that they have and solving their problems. Make their problems our obsession. If we can do that, then we know that we are going to win. And so now let's talk about this idea of economics. And I know you did not come here to World Renowned Wednesday to talk economics. You're like, boy, I barely got out of my economics class for those of us who even took it. So here we go. Economics is nothing more than supply and demand, supply versus demand. And so when supply is greater than demand, what happens? The price or the value goes down. The supply is greater than demand, the price or value goes down. When supply is less than demand, the price or the value goes up. So your job is to create a greater demand for your services than you can fulfill. Like, really? Yes. I want you to create more demand than you could reasonably service. I will tell you all how I do this in a couple of ways. In real estate, I make sure, and we'll talk about the transparency in a moment, but in real estate, I tell people that I only do marketing consultations for listings on certain days, on my Tuesday and Thursday at a certain block of the time. My buyer consultation is going to be on Monday and Wednesday at a certain amount of time. Why? Because if I have a seller or a buyer, a prospect, and they see that I only have 3 time slots on Tuesday and then 1 time slot on a Wednesday, they know that I don't have enough or I don't have enough time to service all of the requests. So in my speaking and coaching world, speaking, for instance, when it comes to teaching, I tell all of the education directors across the country, I'm only teaching 27 classes this year, right? 27 classes out of 365 days. Once these 27 are booked, that's it. That's all. Those are all the classes I'm teaching. For keynotes, I'm only doing 5 keynotes in this year. Once those 5 keynotes are taken, that's it. And we have to create the demand. So for you, what that might look like, even if you don't currently have an over demand for the amount of supply for your time or your services, start putting systems in place. What days, how many consultations are you going to take a day? Now, this is a personal question that only you, as the owner, as the CEO of your life and your business, can answer. Maybe you're open to doing 15 consultations and you're just going to run yourself ragged. Maybe you're saying, Neal, I only want to do 7 consultations in a week, but all of them are going to be on a Thursday. However you operate, but we have to operate in a way so that the marketplace can see that there is a demand and a limited supply. For some of you on here, you have gone to my Calendly or my scheduling app or scheduling service online. And so if you go on there, you'll see there are some days of the week where I have limited time slots. There are some days where I have many more. And oftentimes people will go in to say, well, I want to have a consultation on this day. Go back 10 minutes later, and that time slot will have been taken. And so this is where we want to build some transparency to the marketplace, to those people who value us and our service. So once they see that we are in demand and that we cannot serve everyone, here's what that means for you and I. And some of you as service providers, as those supportive personalities, that means that some people must miss out on working with you. You're going to have to tell some people, I'm sorry, I can't work with you. I'm sorry you missed your opportunity. I had this window and that window closed, or the number of slots filled up maybe next time. That's how we get oversubscribed. That's how we become in demand, because once people say she only takes 5 new clients at a time, I would ask you realistically, how many buyers are you going to work with at any given moment? Now, it might seem like a foreign idea or concept to you, but if you know, like I know, after almost 20 years in this thing, buyers can be tiring. I'm not talking about the liar part of it. I'm just saying that it can be tiring with the energy and the outlay of time, energy, mental energy as well, searching properties, having negotiations going back and forth, scheduling the showings themselves can be draining. Are you comfortable working with 3 at a time, like active buyers? I mean, can you do 5? What happens if you get up to 7? Right? Because it's not the culmination or just having all 6 of them on one day. Sometimes it's just having one more showing request rescheduled or decline, right? And that's the one, that's the straw that breaks us down. So that might be how you go in and have transparency with your customers, clients, or prospects, and then you create that demand that outstrips supply. Now, here's where we go next, right? So after we've created some demand, this is where we become more profitable and more of greater value. We have to we have to solve bigger problems than other people do, right? Because the reality is, for those of us in, let's say, real estate, I mean, you're going to write a contract, you're going to show me a house. That's not a very big problem, right? Other people can solve that problem. I can put you on, no matter where you are, I can put you on some type of home search. Heck, they don't even need us to see properties right now. They don't need us to get access to properties. They don't need us to write contracts or to say or to close on a home. So what's the bigger problem that you can solve for them? Maybe it's the anxiety, maybe it is the lack of expertise, or that they are disorganized and they need someone to hold their hand and to walk them through the process. Maybe they're from another country and they don't understand how things work here in the US, or vice versa. I never want to pigeonhole us, right? Maybe you're doing international business and your clients don't know how to operate abroad. So we want to make sure that we just solve bigger problems than most other people do. And that starts with, one, putting our personal beliefs out there. You have to put your personal belief out there, and then you have to show people that there is a better alternative than the situation they are currently in. You all would not be here right now watching this video, or here with me in this presentation, if you did not believe that there was a better tomorrow, that there was something better than what your today or yesterday was. We all have more or different things that we could be doing right now. Hopefully, I'm helping you solve a bigger problem than other people do. That's why you're willing to invest your time here. One of the reasons why customers are going to hire us, one of the most likely reasons, is because you are unique. And it doesn't mean that you have funny color hair or the way you talk, but you have the unique ability to GSD. And GSD, since this is PG, we're going to say get stuff done. And this goes back to that thoughts to actions. People are going to hire you, one, because you solve bigger problems, but because you have the unique ability to get stuff done. Today, we talked or in today's time, we see people who are all talk. So me being here in Tennessee, it makes me think about my friends in Texas, where the saying is big buckle, no cattle, or big hat, no cattle, right? Where they're all talk, they're all show, but they never get stuff done. And so if we have the unique ability to get stuff done, we are always going to be in massive demand. Here's where I must pose this question to you right now. Do you have the ability to get stuff done? If I am a buyer, a seller, an event coordinator, if I'm the HR department education director, if I call you, can I trust that I'm going to get fantastic results from you? If you cannot deliver results, you are not as valuable as you need to be. I don't need to just know you, like you. I need to trust that once we work together, that tomorrow is going to be better, that I'm going to be able to sleep tonight knowing that you're obsessing over my issue. If we're not there, we're not going to create those loyal fans. And here's how we create loyal fans, or these are the types of loyal fans we want. We want people who are loyal to our business or service, our personality, and our philosophy. And each of us, now, you probably don't think of yourself as a philosopher, but you have a personal philosophy. There are things that guide your life and your business. Part of your philosophy, if you're here with me, you probably believe that there is more out there, that better is possible. You probably believe, I'm going to say likely going forward, right? Because that probably has got me tripping. You likely believe that better is possible. You likely believe that you can be the best at this thing. You want to provide great service to others. That's part of your philosophy, right? So once we start mixing our philosophy, our personality, and then our product, service, and business, and we find people who are loyal to that, they are going to place a high value on us and what we do. So here's the next piece, just to recap how we find people that value and love our service, personality, philosophy, and our business. 7-11-4. We remember 7-11-4. Hopefully, you have implemented the 7-11-4. Some of you are like, man, I remember that. I was supposed to do that, but then I got stuck on finding my word. Then I was gonna find my word, but I had to find out who I was. And then, right, so 7-11-4. We're gonna take a little trip in back in time. The three C's: connection, character, competence. Right? All of this goes back to how we become in demand. This is how we become oversubscribed. It's not because of our marketing budget or ads that we run or billboards. Once we have 7-11-4, once we find those ideal clients that value us more than we value ourselves, once we use those three C's and then turn thoughts into action, we're going to find ourselves positioned to win. This next phrase is one that I want you all to become keenly aware of. And you don't have to like it, but I want you to just let it sit with you a bit. And here it is: people don't buy what others want to sell. People don't buy what others want to sell. People buy what others want to buy. And you're like, yep, I'm right there with them, right? Just because you have a product to sell, just because you have a service to sell, that does not mean that people are lined up to buy your service. They aren't lined up to hire you just because you have something that you want to sell them. People want to buy what other people want to buy. This comes in with that FOMO, with that keeping up with the Joneses. This is why when I walk by the Apple store here in Nashville, there's a line of people. And think about this: it's not like Apple has a new product that released today or this week, right? It's the same 15, if I'm not mistaken, right? With titanium and all this other stuff, but there's still a line. Why? Because people want to buy what other people want to buy. And how do we leverage that? One, we have to get people to hire us and pay us. Are you focused on not the flash and not the look or being trendy? Are you focused on getting people to hire you and pay you? If your focus outside of everything that we're doing is for any other reason than to get some results, then we are doing the wrong thing. And here's as we talk about this FOMO and people buying what others want to buy, this is where we must have standards in place. And I'm going to say these last few minutes are going to be a challenge because they were challenging for me and they still are challenging for me even as I continue to grow my businesses. So here's where this is what I would call a big key in what we've talked about tonight. Only work with those who recognize your value. Only work with those who recognize your value and then exceed their expectations. Right? So we know those people who lined up to work with us, who value us more than we do, who would wait in line for our service, who, if we told them we're sorry you missed out, their question is going to be, well, when are you available next? What's your next opening? Those people, we're only going to work with people who understand our value, who recognize our value, and then we're going to exceed their expectations. Because if they recognize our value and then we exceed their expectations, what happens? Now we become people who are remarkable. We become people that's worth talking about. And that's where I ask this evening, are you worth talking about in a positive way? Is your service, do you deliver world-renowned service where when someone talks to you or talks about you, they're saying, man, I don't know who you have, but here's what I have experienced. And here's why we want to exceed the expectations of those that we choose to work with. It's because people judge a product or service by those who buy it. Now, let's look at this for a moment. You are not being judged by the way you look. Right now, we're talking about big market, those people who don't know us. Your business is not judged by you. Your business is not judged by how eloquent you speak. Your business or service is judged by the people who hire you. If you have lower end scrub people lined up to work with you, the marketplace, potential clients, customers, those prospects, they are judging you. They're saying, okay, I see who he is, not because they know our character. They aren't looking at all of our philosophy and the work that we've done. They're saying, well, I know who hired them, right? I know what kind of character they have. Perfect example. If you think about the customers that go to Nordstrom's, if you think about the customers that go to J.C. Penney, right? J.C. Penney versus Nordstrom, they are judged, they are evaluated by what? Maybe not so much now by the organization or the company, but by the individuals who shop there, who purchase their goods, who leverage their services. When we look at different levels of cars, whether we like it or not, they are based on the customers and those that are going to purchase the services or the product. So that means, once again, we have to be willing to say no. If you are approached, remember we talked about the ideal client. Who is your ideal client? Who do you want to work with? How many of them do you want to work with? Do you know where to find them? What are your numbers? If someone does not fit your personality, your philosophy, your ideal client avatar, are you willing to say no? Even if they would have been a transaction or a deal, right? That's the hard part. I'm asking that right now. People are like, man, maybe next time, but this time, like right now, do you know what next week is? Right? Are you willing to say no to someone who would erode the value or the perception of your business? Now, that doesn't mean it's easy. I'm telling you all, I am you. I know what it's like 20 years doing this thing, having to ask myself, ah, right, I don't think that he or she would be a good look on Neal Oates, but we got bills due, right? And so here's why we have to set high standards. So setting the high standards is one part, but we have to stick to them. Do you have success partners in place to ask you what went right this week? Who did you work with? Who did you refuse to work with? Did you take every deal or did you turn some down? There were some things I said this was a heck of a week, an awesome week for me. There were two individuals that I were like, you are not a fit for my brand. If I work with you, we would get the deal done, but then you would send me more jerks like you. I know it. It always happens, right? So we have to ask that question. When you do say yes, so if you say no because we've set high standards and we are going to stick to them. But when you do say yes to a client, customer, or prospect, you must be able to solve their important problems in a remarkable way. If you say yes to working with a seller, a buyer, event coordinator, education director, can you solve their important problem in a remarkable way? Meaning it's a way that they are going to talk about for some time. Can you not just help them buy a home, but can you help them buy a home in a great neighborhood and show them how to, or give them the information on how to get the electricity set up if it's their first time? Give them a list of the different vendors that they might need on the home, or at the home. For me, we do the move-in pizza deal on the day, right? So we're going to have DoorDash or Uber Eats deliver some pizza because it's easy and it's relatively inexpensive on moving day. Y'all are moving? Here we go. Pizza either at the place you're moving from, or two, instead of just on that closing day piece, right? So can you exceed their expectations? Can you actually solve their important problems in a remarkable way? And are you worth talking about? Because if you are not worth talking about, you are not going to be oversubscribed, you're not going to be in demand, and therefore you're going to have no demand, no profit, little demand, little profit, massive demand. You're going to have success. And so that is all of our goal, regardless of what your definition of success is. We desire, we dream of being successful. And so that's why we are here. So we are right at the 45-minute mark. I am going to stop the recording here in a moment after I give my fond farewells and my goodbyes, but I will be here to answer questions for those of you who are here live with me. So here's what the homework is for this week. We want to review all of the previous 5 and then today 6 sessions. Go back, look at that personal brand, know your numbers, and then start asking these specific questions. Do you know who your ideal client is, your target audience? Have you gone in and are you in demand right now? Are you giving enough information, enough content, enough ideas? Are you sharing your personality and your philosophy enough so that people can want more? And if they aren't demanding more, are you saying, or are you asking, am I giving to the wrong people or am I giving the wrong stuff? Because I believe that if we get there next week, a week from today, when we finish off, we'll be in a fantastic place to be world renowned and to take our businesses and our lives to new heights. So, in that, I want to thank you all for hanging out with me again. It is always a pleasure. I'm excited to see the work that we are putting in. Hopefully and prayerfully, you're not just coming here because I know that I am not that entertaining. I know that the information is good, but the execution is what's going to yield the greatest results. So I want to remind you that I love you, God loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And until the next time I see you or you see me, don't be average, be world renowned. Peace.